This conference will now be recorded.
So, this week you did chapter 1, except for Megan.
I watched your other recording.
Oh, you watched the other recording. Okay, good. And everybody had their marriage staff meeting, except for Megan.
Not
Giving you a bad time.
picked on.
Pick on you. Phil and Stephanie at your marriage staff meeting? Okay, good. What'd you think about chapter 1? Did you like it? Was it interesting? Did you have a good discussion? How was your marriage staff meeting? Anybody?
It was brief.
It was brief? Is that what you said?
Yeah.
Yeah, there wasn't a whole lot, unless you got into asking questions about, why the other person thought that way or said that or wrote that.
A little bit of that.
A little bit.
A little bit of that. Okay. So anybody else have any input for chapter 1?
You.
Okay, then we'll move on to chapter 2. Chapter 2 on page 9 is entitled, What Do We Really Need from Each Other? When my wife and I, when Carla and I, 20 years ago, took this class, the instructor asked us, he asked me, I think it was a setup. He said, Mark, do you have any needs? And I thought for a couple seconds and then said, no, I don't think so. And and then I said, well, wait a minute. I need food. I need water. I need a job that I like. I need a roof over my head and air, and a little sex now and then doesn't hurt. He said, Mark, I should have been more specific. Do you think you have any emotional needs? And I said, nah, definitely not. Whereupon he proceeded to ask me some questions like, at the time I was in business for myself, and I had employees, and he said, how many employees do you have? And I said, about 20. He said, well, do you like it when they respect you at the job place? I said, yeah, I guess so. He said, what about do you like it when they approve of things that you do? I said, yeah, I guess so. So in that process, I learned that I have needs. I have emotional needs, and we proceeded to talk about emotional needs, and we are bottom line, we're born with emotional needs. If you think about it, a baby in a crib, I mean, even if you don't have children, you've seen children and you've seen a baby cry and someone pick it up and the baby quits crying. Or let's say you have a young daughter, and the daughter is coloring away and comes in to show you her picture that she's drawn, and you say, very nice, now go away because I'm busy. She came to you for approval, and you rejected her. Needs are extremely important, and that's why this chapter is right up front, number 1, after the first one, of assessing where we're at. And in order to it is very important that we know what our partner's needs are. So we're gonna talk about that in a few minutes. But first of all, I want you to turn to page 217, I think it is. Don't turn yet, because I'm not sure. Nope, it's not. Okay, where is it? Maybe 117. Yes, turn to page 117. This is another chapter, by the way, and of about needs. And this particular chart on page 117, if you take a look at the left-hand side, you've got a male and a female there with personal needs, and above them is the potential, and below them is the pain of having the potential of having needs met versus the pain of having them unmet. So you've got, if we follow that diagram across the top, you've got needs that are met: attention, affection, appreciation, comfort, excuse me, which results in truthful thinking. I must be important. I'm really loved. I can do it. God loves me. Which result in positive feelings of being loved, cared for, secure, grateful, which result in productive behaviors, kindness, giving to others, being considerate, pursuing excellence, which result in possible positive outcomes like a healthy family, a caring relationship, a maturing character, a maturing personality, and growing in faith. Now, I would say we all want those positive outcomes in our relationships, especially in our marriage relationship. But take a look at what happens when needs go unmet. And the pain of having them go unmet. You're ignored, you're disapproved of, you're rejected, you're criticized, which results in faulty or negative thinking. I can't do it. What's wrong with me? I don't matter. I'll try harder, which result in painful feelings of hurt, anger, fear, condemnation, which result in unproductive behavior, perfectionism, acting out, manipulative games, destructive activities, rebellion, which result in conflicted family, poor character, personality disturbances, problems in living, and immaturity. Have you ever, you surely have met or know someone that has a conflicted family, or you know someone that has a poor character or personality disturbances, problems in living, or is immature. People like that, you can trace it all the way back to not having their needs met. And so that's why it's extremely important in a marriage relationship to have our needs met. We, if you take a look at page 12, oops, excuse me, yes, page 12, there is a list of the most common, most 10 intimacy needs. And when you get to this exercise this week, you are going to, in the left-hand side, you see it says you. And on the right-hand side, it says spouse. What you're going to do is, if the instructions on the previous page say mark 3 in the you column that are the most important for you to receive from your spouse. Okay? The 3 in the left column, you. What are the 3 most important ones for you to receive from your spouse? And in the right column, what are the 3 most important ones that you would think that your spouse would consider important to receive from you? Okay? So you're going do this exercise that you read the definitions for so that you're both on the same page as far as what the definition, for example, of acceptance is. If I were to write a definition of acceptance, it would not look like that. And so what happened when I first did this exercise with my wife 20 years ago, I just went down the list like this. Let's see, acceptance, affection, appreciation, approval, attention, comfort, encouragement, respect, security, and support. Okay, I like affection, I like respect, and I like security. That's how fast I did that exercise. But when we sat down and talked about it, and we discussed what I liked and what she liked as far as the three most important needs, soon discovered that hey, I should have read the definitions because some of these are more important to me than the three that I marked. And so what's going to happen when you do your marriage staff meeting is you are going to then talk about this exercise, and the men are going to start out and they're going to say, okay, I picked my three that are most important to me are this one, and this one. Okay? And then the female is going to say, okay, and I picked this one, and this one. Then you're going to compare, let's say, for example, that Stephanie picked affection, attention, and security. And Phil thought that she liked that more important to her was three other ones. So basically, he totally guessed wrong. Now, the reason I'm giving you that as an illustration is because of the fact that it is totally irrelevant whether your guesses are right or wrong. I mean, you could have all of them wrong, you could have one of them wrong, two of them wrong, you could have all three right. It doesn't matter how many of your partners you guessed correctly. What does matter is that now that you have learned what your partner's three most important needs are, you can begin to focus on those needs and not focus on some of the others. Let's just say, for example, that you did not pick acceptance as one of your three most important ones. So if your partner runs around trying to give you acceptance all the time, um, it's kind of a waste of time because there are three more important ones that they should be focusing on. Okay? Then on page 13, you're to write down your three main needs and give examples of how your partner could meet them. Have you ever been in a discussion with your partner and your partner says, well, you always do that. And you say, well, I don't think I do. Give me an example. Has your partner ever asked you to give an example? I think that happens quite a bit because we get in these discussions and we don't believe that what is going on. So we say, okay, give me an example. Now, that's when it becomes a little bit hard for your partner to come up with an example. So whenever you're talking to your partner and your partner's gonna want examples. So this is a good exercise on page 13 of giving examples. And the way you want to give an example is the way that we talked about last week. And when we talked about communications, you're going to give an I statement. For example, I wrote one of my needs was respect. So how could Carla best meet that need? I said to her, using an I statement, would feel much better if you did not give me directions, if you could quit telling me how to drive when I'm going down the road, okay? That to me showed me, I think, Rhiannon, somebody's talking to you. That to me showed me a lack of respect. We had to talk about that when we got into our marriage staff meeting. We talked about that, and I understood why she did it. It was just kind of constantly, whenever I would be driving, she would say, "You're going too fast. You're following too close. Turn here. Stop and ask for directions." And it just seemed like it was too much. So we talked about it, and she said, "Okay, I will try my best to not do that in the future." But she has occasionally done it, and we laugh. A specific example that happened a few months ago. I have a granddaughter. Her name's Alyssa, and she's married. Her husband's name is Jeff. And Alyssa called me and said, "Grandpa," she knows that I do marriage training and marriage counseling, and she said, "Grandpa," she said, "I need your help." I said, "What do you need?" She said, "Well, I keep telling Jeff that he's not very affectionate." So I said, "Well, how do you tell him?" She says, "Well, I just come right out and tell him. I'm very blunt about it. I just say you're not very affectionate." And so I said, "Well, Alyssa, you know, if you know his family, I've seen his family, I've been around him, and I have never seen affection displayed in his family. He has about 2 or 3 siblings, and he's got his mother and father, and there's just absolutely, it's kind of a cold family. So they're very cold, and there's no affection being shown in that family." So I said, it wasn't modeled for him when he was growing up. He doesn't know how to show affection. So she said, "Well, so what do I do?" I said, "Well, you give him specific examples." She said, "Like what?" I said, "Well, tell him when he comes home every night, you would really feel great if he were to sit down and just snuggle with you and be affectionate on the couch for just 5 or 10 minutes before you guys started doing anything, and you just talked with one another." And she said, "Oh, that's a good idea. I like that one." So anyway, we went through other ideas of how, if one of your 3 most important needs is affection, then tell your partner, "This is how I like affection. This is what I appreciate." Okay? So then on page 14, there's another exercise. And in this exercise, you've got 2 columns there, and you're going to identify what you and your spouse most enjoy. You're going to check the items that appeal to your mate in column 1 and the ones that appeal to you in column 2. Check only 4 items in each column. Now, just if you are in the midst of doing this exercise on your own, which is the way things you're supposed to do your homework on your own, and you think, "Well, gee whiz, I'd like to mark 5 things there," then let your partner know, "I'm going to mark 5 things so that he or she can mark 5 things also." Okay? So in other words, let's be equal. When Carla and I did this exercise, she marked holding hands, going for a walk, being told "I love you," having a surprise date. Okay, those 4 things. So I told her, I said, "You know what we could do? Some of these things don't pertain to us, like kids, helping with the kids. We don't have kids anymore. We had 3 kids, we had 5 grandkids, we got 7 great grandkids. We don't have kids anymore, so we don't have to help with the kids." So we scratched that one off, but we added other things to this list, and we put it on the refrigerator. And every time we did one of these things that our spouse liked. Whenever we went, let's say, for example, Carla likes to hold hands. So whenever I held Carla's hand, I would go to the kitchen and I'd mark a check mark. Well, after a week or two of doing that, I saw that I was way behind in catching up to her, that she had a lot of check marks where she had done things for me. She'd done things that I like to do. And so I thought, well, I'll get her. I'll watch this. So I said, let's go for a walk. And while we were on the walk, I gave her an unexpected hug. I gave her a love note. We had a surprise date. I took her to someplace to eat. And so when we got back to the house, I had 5 check marks by doing one simple thing. So it was just a fun little game that we played. Okay? Now, one of the last things that would be on my list is going for a walk. When I go someplace, I want to get there fast. So for me to go for a walk with Carla in the beginning really put me out. But I was doing it because she marked it down as one of the things that she liked to do. You know, what happened after a while was I began to like it. And we do it to this day. Another example of doing something for your spouse and you begin to like it happened in our lives also. When we got married, Carla grew up in a very prudish family. And in the very beginning, I invited her to take a shower with me, and she said, no, I don't want to do that, thanks. So after a few times of asking her to take a shower with me and being rejected, I gave up. But when we did this exercise, one of the things that I marked down was taking a shower together. So to please me, to bless me, she started taking a shower with me. To this day, we watch the news every morning together. We eat breakfast together, and then we take a shower. So she stands up, and the first thing she says is, "Are you ready?" And I know what that means. That means, "Are you ready to take a shower?" She never wanted to do it, but she began to do it, and she liked it, and she liked it because it blessed me. She was giving to me, and that's what marriage is all about, is giving. And so that's what this exercise is all about, and this whole chapter is all about, is giving to meet your partner's needs. Perhaps I mentioned during your wedding, Phil and Stephanie, did I mention that, Stephanie, if you want to be treated like a queen, treat Phil like a king? And Phil, you want to be treated like a king, treat Stephanie like a queen? Okay? That's called giving and not worrying about getting. Okay? Marriage is all about giving and not worrying about what you're not getting or what you're getting that you don't like. Not the most common, let me back up. Every time a couple comes in to do counseling with me, the first thing they do is they start telling me about the faults of the other person. This person's not doing this. This person's not doing that. In other words, they're telling me that that person is not meeting their needs. So I have to train couples on how to meet your partner's needs and not worry about your own. If you're constantly worrying about your partner, you married your partner, so you knew what you were getting when you married him or her, so don't try to change them. That's the biggest mistake I think marriage couples can make, is trying to change their partners. Don't try to change them. Just meet their needs, and in return, they will meet your needs. Guaranteed. Guaranteed. Let's see. Anything else I want to tell you about this chapter? No, I think it's a fairly short chapter and a very easy one, and I think you're going to like it. But one thing you need to please do is make sure that you have your marriage staff meeting before next week, and that you do it the way I asked you to do it. Knees interlocked, holding hands, looking at each other in the eyes. And your mission is to listen. Okay? That's the main objective of your marriage staff meeting, is to listen to what your partner has to share. Not to argue, not to disrupt, not to interrupt, not to fight, not to disagree. Listen to what your partner has to say. That's what you do during your marriage staff meeting. Okay, any thoughts, any questions? Megan, did you have a question? Nope.
Oh, sorry, I muted it. My dog's chewing on his bone, so.
It's okay. I've got a control panel that sees that you were muted. That's why I asked you the question.
You would.
Okay. Well, then, that's it for the night. It's a short one. Enjoy each other's company. And when does Brian get home?
On Wednesday, tomorrow.
Right.
Yeah.
Where is he?
He's in LA for work meetings.
Uh-huh.
Mm-hmm.
By the way, since we have everybody, why don't we just briefly, one more time, go through and tell about where we got married, or where getting married, and the date that you got married, or the date that you're getting married, and where you live, just so everybody knows and gets to know everybody, because we were missing a couple last week. So Megan, why don't you start out, since you're not muted?
Oh, yeah. We got married in Lake Tahoe last February. So we're just coming up on our 1 year. And we were
February 13th at Edgewood.
right, February 3rd.
February 3rd, yeah. Okay. I don't know why I thought the 13th. I wanted to ask you a question. You got married in a good year at Edgewood.
Oh, I know. It was beautiful.
This year, the minimum price to get married at Edgewood is $45,000.
That is insane.
They want to be a 5-star resort, and they want to only do exclusive weddings.
Wow. I'm glad that we slid in there then. We got lucky.
But you get champagne
$45,000.
when you check in, so
The coordinator
it's up
there
for
at
it.
Edgewood told me the other day.
Mm-hmm. I did love it though. It was amazing.
It was a good facility. Yeah, it's always been beautiful there.
Right. Yeah.
Okay, how about Brittany and Justin next?
So we're Brittany and Justin. We got married June 10th of 2017 at David Wally's in Genoa, and now we live in Indiana.
And you go to Indiana University.
No,
The Boilermaker. They got married at a place called David Wally's in Genoa, and David Wally's just a few weeks ago got sold, and the owners told. Do you remember Marie Stokes, the coordinator there?
Yeah.
They told Marie, cancel all of the weddings for this year.
Oh no.
So she had to cancel all the weddings, and all those people for this year had to go find someplace else.
That's right.
That's crazy. Hurry.
Bill and Stephanie, you are next.
So I'm Stephanie. We live in Reno. We got married January 7th of last year. and we got married in Incline Village at the Chateau.
And they do a great job there too. Henry Ann, who's speaking tonight on behalf of the Ha family?
I can do it.
I think I did it last week, but sure, I will go again. So we got married August 11th at the Edgewood as well. And for those on the phone, our budget was not $45K, thank God. So otherwise we wouldn't have been able to afford it. But so we got married August 11th. We currently live in Virginia, and I actually travel every week for work. So I'm in a hotel room right now, and Ryan is at home. So
And for everybody, how do you pronounce your name?
Kwan, so like Kwanzaa or KWAN.
So like KWAN, right?
Correct.
Kwan.
And Ryan is pretty much Diane with an R.
Right. Ryan. By the way, I've never heard that name. Has anybody ever heard that name, Ryan?
Yeah,
And
I've not met anyone else.
Ryan came from where to get married? Where did you come from to get married?
I'm from Singapore, so I moved over to be with Kwan. So
Singapore.
yeah, far, really far
Crazy
away.
Rich Asians.
Kwan?
So, Crazy Rich Asians, if you've seen the movie.
Yeah.
Or the North Korea USA Summit location.
And now they live in Virginia.
Correct.
Okay. Well, that's just a little introduction of everybody. And by the way, Carla and I are coming up on the 11th of February. We're coming up on 42 years.
Oh,
Congratulations.
Thank you.
You must have a big shower.
Well, it's funny you say that. We used to have a small one, but I spent $5,000 and totally renovated our bathroom. New sink, new cabinets, new mirrors. I changed a 3-foot by 3-foot shower stall and bathtub into a 6-foot by 4-foot shower stall. No doors, multiple shower heads. They come at you from all directions. It's fun taking a shower, especially with Carla. Okay, well, take care. We'll see you next week.
bye.
Bye-bye.